you the link, Shetu.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So, today we are back on P3.
Yes.
And we are going to see, first we will start off like what we normally do with some of the questions, but I sent it to you earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. These are the typical OT questions what you can get, and let's look at some of these questions. Again, as I said, don't get worried if you are not going to answer the right answer. That's not the purpose. To see, you know, how much we can go on and what are we going to get out of it.
Okay.
And this is still the learning process. Still we are not on the subject of, you know, trying to answer the questions. That we will have enough time to do it. Okay, shall we look at the first question that you have? What was your thinking about it? Because this is all about the different kinds of risk. We were talking last time, different categorization of risk. So this particular thing, manufacturer of domestic appliances, long-term contract to sell its products for a company in country A. Currency is some said dollars. Inflation is very high. Forecast to increase rapidly, and concerned about the effect of this will have on exchange rate. So this is basically the risk is exchange risk. But under categories, where will it be? Is it environmental? Is it financial? Is it business? That's what we have to look at.
Okay. I think this is financial risk.
You're right. You're right. Because the financial risk, actually there are 4 kinds of financial risk. Normally we have credit risk, exchange risk, interest risk, and also something called political risk. That is the risk when you try to invest in another country.
Yeah. And
the right answer is financial risk. Excellent. Yes, right. So let's look at the next one. Next one, you have to select the TARA. That is, for each of the items, you must decide whether it should be transfer, avoid, reduce, or accept. So remember the risk response strategies we have. So here they are manufacturing large, expensive, fast sports cars. The following risk and their possible mitigations have been in the table below. So match the following risk with their mitigation. So mitigation is basically, you know, on risk management, we must always understand, Chetu, that we can't eliminate the risk. What we can do is always to minimize the risk. You know, whatever you do it, you will have the risk. You remember the September 2011, the situation. You know, they saw that the possible kind of attack on that building, and they planned for it. They planned for it. They did certain material and all that. But one thing they slipped out was they never thought that, or rather it did not strike them, that the fuel tank will explode and the building will get caught to fire. So we can, you know, with all our human brains, we can do a lot of things, but still that may not be good enough. So the board of directors, we, management, all we can do everything possible to manage the risk. But you can't bring it to zero risk. I mean, don't believe that we can think of a zero risk situation. So let's look at this one. So a customer environmental concerns could mean that customers will want only small economical cars. So that's the first risk that we are looking. So the environmental concerns could mean that the customers will be looking only for small cars. So what should you do?
I think that's a risk. I think that they could accept, but then obviously accept that risk, but and then look for to see if they can produce those, be flexible in their manufacturing.
Yeah, I think because, you know, just because there are environmental concerns and because the customers only want small cars and economical cars, and that's a real life. That's a real life. So if you are going to, you know, avoid that kind of a risk, you are not going to win business. You have to live with it. You have to accept that risk and see what you can do with about it. But the people allow the modern trend is to go for small and economical cars. And that will be the trend throughout. Right? Because since I'm just stopping work from today, so I went and bought a small car for my youth. So my son and daughter was asking, why you are going for a small car? Small car. So I said, no, it's our age is different, you know. You don't need to run in big cars. You need a small car just to go to the town and city and come back. And that's good enough. The youngsters, they will look at it in a different way. It's a different story. Right. So here they are talking about manufacturing very large, expensive, fast sport cars. So, they are more the expensive one. But environmental concerns could mean customers will want small and economical. So we have to live with it. We have to accept it. Next one.
Yeah.
A customer or a third party could be killed or injured because of the sheer power of the cars, making them difficult to drive safely. What do you think you will do?
So that's a bit you can transfer that risk or you to an insurance or accept. I was confused whether that would be a transferring of that risk to an insurance company or accepting that risk because that's
Yeah, because now look at that scenario. A customer or a third party could be killed or injured because of the sheer power of the cars, making them difficult to drive safely. So if you were in this scenario, right, you're not probably going to accept it because it's too dangerous just to accept it and wait without doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Transfer also not possible because you're a manufacturer. You know, it is the other person taking the car. If you are the driver, I agree with you, you transfer the risk. You probably will take insurance cover to cover up your life insurance or whatever it may be. But as a manufacturer, you don't have control over the driver.
No.
Isn't it? You don't have control over driver. So I think if I were the manufacturer, what I will do is I will try to reduce the risk.
Okay.
How do you reduce the risk? You put all the safety regulations and you know how the car should be driven. Not a new car, just a small car. But it says, you know, if you want to economize on the petrol, what you should do, all that kind of thing. Make the customer more aware.
Okay.
That way you can do it. What about the next one? A customer or third party could be killed or injured because of a manufacturing fault leading to an accident.
That would be one I would think avoid. Avoid if there's a manufacturing fault or reduce. Avoid or reduce.
Yeah, because you want to reduce it. You definitely want to reduce it. But immediately as a risk management strategy, what can you do? You can transfer. You can transfer, you know, that is why you take all these insurance policies. As a manufacturer, you will take it. If there's a manufacturing defect or something, the insurance company will compensate.
Okay.
Right? Look at some of the doctors, you know, they take a professional medical insurance cover. If a patient dies or there's some medical negligence. So in the manufacturing, even with all the quality controls, you can have this kind of a thing. But you don't want to stop the business, so what you will do is you probably will want to transfer the risk.
Okay.
Next one. Environment registration in California could mean that all cars sold in state must meet emissions and fuel economy standard that would be impossible to achieve with a car of this type. Now there you have a very, very easy word. The term impossible. Impossible means there is nothing that you can do about it.
So you avoid it.
You avoid it, exactly. Now this is, you know, in those scenarios, try to catch up that word.
Okay.
That word will tell you exactly what the answer is.
Okay.
Now you would have seen in this particular question, we had all four coming up, except reduce, transfer, and avoid. The four answers are four different ones. But not necessarily that you will have that. It can be two transfers and two avoids, or it can be three avoids and one reduce. So don't think that all the time you will have all four coming up. But in this particular question, we had all four coming up. Yeah?
Okay.
So that's the answer that you will give it for that one. So let's look at the next one. Which of the following statement is true? I think this is something which we learned at the very beginning on the risk management. Yeah? That is your statement.
Yeah. That risk is not always a negative, but what could also be about not recognizing an opportunity.
Right, very good. Excellent, excellent. That's correct, because risk, as I said, it can be upside risk, it can be a downside risk.
Okay.
And that is what we call confirmance and performance. We want to move away from the downside risk, that is to confirm, but to exploit the advantage, and that is what we call the performance, and that is to work it out on that one. So it's always not a negative one. Risk is always not a negative one. It's about recognizing an opportunity. Excellent. Right. Next one. N is a multinational mining company with operations across Asia and Africa. Currently, they are investigating the potential to commence a copper mine in South America. The popular government in this particular country has been in power for 20 years. There have been no elections. But three types, Charles. So try to look at some of the words they put. Popular government has been in power for 20 years. So it looks like a very stable government that is in power, right? But 20 years is a fairly longer period.
Long time.
Yeah, we are going for elections, and the present regime had been there for 20 years, and it's looking like a very close battle between the opposition and the government. So that's happening on the 8th of January. So what three steps should taken to manage the long-term political risk, particular risk of expropriation in this venture? So now this is you are investigating. You want to go and do a mining operation in South America. So what are the political risk? Political risk is basically after you making the decision, the other government, in this case the South American government, is putting up some adverse regulations or adverse actions against you. So before you do that one, what are the things you will do? Three things they're asking.
Yeah, I think the first one would be like seek consultation with local industrial and government
Yeah,
representatives.
I think you're right, because I think before you go and put your investment or whatever, you want to speak to the government representative, local industrial people, and find out, what their views about it. Are they happy about you coming up, or whatever it may be? Yes, that's a good one. Three steps.
And a commission detailed study of the future.
Yes, that's a good one. You must do a commission, a detailed study of what you are going to do it. Exactly. Because before you are going for it, you want to see the South African economy and all that. Exactly. That's the next one. What is the other one?
Yeah.
What is the third one?
I thought it would be like CSR, like use profits from the mine to invest in local education and healthcare. I think that could be investing back in their community.
But is there anything like that in the answer? No? Use profits to invest in. Use profits to invest. Yeah, now that is, you're right. Use profit is basically a post-event J2.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And you are trying to see, before going for investment, what are the things you want to look at. Okay. But you said was correct. It's a way of managing the risk once you go and do it. So seek consultation, you do it before, right? So you can see the civic sponsorship from business in the country with a view to long-term ownership transfer. Yeah, that is also possible. But one of the ways to reduce the political risk is to seek local funding.
Okay.
If you're coming to Sri Lanka and you want to do business, try to get some funding from Sri Lankan banks. That way, the political risk is very minimal, because the government of Sri Lanka will not be very adverse, because the local banks have invested money. So one way to manage the risk is always, when you're going to a foreign country, try and look for local finance.
Okay.
Right? So other things you can see, this is the multiple choice. This is not easy. Almost everything is right, like.
Yeah.
But to decide the steps that you should take. So the key word, even though they have put it in bold tree, my key word is the steps. Right? So what are the first step, second step, third step that I will take it up? Like that I will work it out. So there's definitely to seek consultations, and also to seek local finance, and also to the next one what we said was about commission detail study.
Yeah.
Then the next question I put it up is about the CIMA risk management cycle. Remember we discussed the CIMA risk management cycle. It has a 7 process, right? First you have to establish a risk management group and set goals. Then identify the risk areas. Number 3, understand, assess the scale of risk. That is the probability and the frequency and the impact of it. Then develop a risk response strategy, transfer, reduce, accept. Then implement the strategy. Implement and monitor the controls. Review and refine the process and do it again. And those are the 7 steps. So, they are asking regression analysis, what will it be? What is a regression analysis?
So it's like, would it be assessing the scale?
That's correct, because regression analysis is basically a way to monitor the risk, to measure the risk.
Yeah.
So that is definitely the assessment of understand and assess the scale of risk. What about the Monte Carlo simulation?
I think that would be number 1, like establishing a risk management or identifying risk area. I don't know what that is, so I thought it was just a simulation.
Yeah, simulation is you are trying to model it. You are trying to simulate and see what is going to happen if this happens, right? So it is also a way of understanding and assessing the scale of risk. You have identified the risk and you want to model it. That is what a simulation does. Right? You know that when you go to that particular country, there's a possibility of government putting up certain extra taxes. So you want to model it and see, okay, if that happens, what is the effect on me?
Yeah.
So that is what the Monte Carlo simulation. That is also a way to assess the risk.
Okay. Yeah. So that would be with understand and assess the scale of the risk.
That's correct. So both the answers for the first 2, the regression and the Monte Carlo, is all about the number 3, understand and assess the scale of risk. Then the third one is about the maintaining the risk register.
Maintaining the risk. I said that was 6.
6. That is the implement and monitor. Actually, let's discuss what is this risk register is. Risk register is basically you maintain a kind of a method which is prioritizing the main risk the organization faces.
Okay.
Right? It lists out all the risks that the organization is facing on a priority basis. The number 1 is this one there, and that is basically used for decision making to deal with risk. So it is almost to do with the identifying the risk.
Okay.
That is what the risk register is doing. This risk register will identify and prioritize all the risks that the organization is facing. And if possible, you will put some monetary values and also try to deal with who should be dealing with the risk. So it's a more of a record of the risk. It's a formal recognition and kind of a formal identification process of the risk. And that is what the risk register is going to do for you. So I would put it under identification of risk area. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Then the risk mapping. What is risk mapping? Remember the risk mapping we were talking about? It is. It is all to do about the probability and the impact, isn't it?
Yes.
Risk mapping is probability and the impact. High probability, high impact. You probably want to avoid it. All that kind of thing. So risk mapping. What is that? What will be that thing?
That would be.
You have already identified the risk, yes?
Yes, so it would be develop a response strategy.
Develop a risk. Before that, out of the risk map, what arises is developing the risk response strategy. But why do you do a risk mapping? Do you get it?
To actually, okay. So it's also identifying the.
It is more than that. Already we have identified the risk. What we are doing is we are trying to assess the scale again.
Okay.
Understand?
Okay. So
Right?
again, okay.
Yeah, again it is about the assessment of the understanding and assessment of scale. Because first you identify the risk and then you put it into the risk map and then you will see, oh, this risk is big, I want to avoid it. Or this risk, I can transfer it. So the next stage is TARA. But before that, while you put it to the risk map, is to, after identifying, is to assess the scale.
Okay.
Right. Then what about the TARA?
That would be the response strategy.
That's correct. Yeah, that's very easy. Risk response strategy. Right?
Yeah.
And then what about the internal audit? Now what are they going to do internal audit? Who are these fellows?
They would be the ones, they should be the risk management group.
Yeah, they are, either they can be in the group, as I said last time, or otherwise they can be outside the group. One school of theories, they can be inside the group, or they can be outside. Whether they are inside or outside, it doesn't matter. Their thing is always to monitor the control. They are the people who are going to monitor the control. They are the people who are going to tell the board of directors, look here.
But they won't be the ones implement.
No, they are not the implementers. Implementers are always the management. Internal auditors are there to, they are like the police people. They come and monitor.
Okay.
You want to see whether what they have done is right, whether what the board implemented, whether these fellows are doing it properly. Board took a decision and board have handed over the job to you. Internal auditor will come and see whether you have done the job, say.
Yeah.
Right? You are the implementer.
Yeah. So I was thinking, because the only monitor there is 6, but in 6 it says implement and monitor. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I think that they put it up, implement and monitor the suggested control. Actually, more than the implementation, because it has to go with the 6, the alternative for us, but they are more of the monitoring.
Okay.
Yeah. They are more of the monitoring. But yes, in this question, that is the answer you have to give it number 6.
Okay.
So sometimes you can see, yes, that the answer may not be the perfect thing, but it come in very almost near. We will have to take that answer. We'll have to accept that one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So the next question: we have a multinational IT company with operations in over 60 countries worldwide. So you remember what is a multinational company? Multinational company is a company that owns or controls the other subsidiary or whatever, the foreign operation. They either own or control or both. They source equipment across Europe, America and Asia for sale to end clients as a standalone infrastructure as a part of service management deals. Transfer prices set at source can be sterling pounds, US dollars or euro. Transfer prices are revised every month. The sales cycle is typically 3 to 4 months. How should H manage the risk presented by scenario? So here they are sourcing equipments across the world, right? And to sell it to the end clients as standalone infrastructure or as part of service management deals. Transfer prices set at source can be, so because since they are multinational, they can work on the transfer pricing. And how are they going to manage the risk presented by this scenario? So first of all, what is the risk that they are facing here?
They're facing exchange rate risk, I would think.
Yeah, yes, they are facing exchange risk on one side of it, because they are working on various different things, right? But the exchange risk for a multinational is generally very minimal. Why do I say that? Because they are dealing with all sorts of currencies, so they can do something what we call netting up and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So one way to manage the risk is they have this netting up all the time. So let's look at how they're going to manage it. Do nothing, everyone else is in the same situation. That's not a good solution. No board of directors should say, look here, others are also doing, so let's forget about it. Set up unilateral netting so that central treasury balances all trades before any monies are transferred. Now that's a good one. You remember we discussed about the transfers, the central treasury. Central treasury can see the overview. Okay, there's money in UK, right? There's money in the sterling account, and one of our other subsidiaries have to pay some sterling. So the central treasury will say you transfer it. So you do netting, right? So before the monies are getting transferred to wherever your home country, you will do that one.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to do it, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good thing to do it. Then what is the next one? Establish accurate sales forecasting. Yeah. Establish accurate sales forecasting to avoid. Yeah. Is that something that you should manage?
That's something to manage. I don't know if it relates to them, because if they are all over the place.
Yeah. Even though they are all over the place, right? Look at what is their businesses, because they are selling it to standalone infrastructure or part of the service. So you don't want to have big stocks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You don't want to have, because you don't want to keep big stock. So surely it's something that, because it's an IT company. So remember, IT companies, what are their products? Their products can get obsolete very fast.
Yeah.
So because of that, you don't want to hold lot of stocks, and therefore I think that is something you want to manage.
Yes.
Establish a JIT building process, build process for major items exceeding a certain value. But here you will see, obviously most of the things will be this kind of thing. And JIT cannot be applied for IT operation. JIT cannot be applied for IT operation because it's not manufacturing, it is all services. Right? Then, what is the next one? Establish a short lead time for high volume items. Is it a good thing?
Yes, I think.
I think so, yeah, it's a good thing. Establish a short lead time for high volume items. So you don't block your money.
Yeah.
You don't block your money.
Yes.
So that you will do that one. And factor state payments on delivery based on foreign currency that day. You will not do that one because you're a multinational company. You don't need to do the factoring.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to do that. So what I'm trying to put up is you have to look at what type of a company, which kind of an industry before you answer.
Okay.
All that is very important. Actually, the question number 6 and 7 have got duplicated. It's the same thing. So 7 also same thing, so we don't need to worry about that one. Then look at the question number 8. MPLC manufacturing company had some problems with defects in one of the main products it produces. This product had been made by the company for many years and is very profitable. So it's a manufacturing company. They have been producing this product and for many years and very profitable. Last month, over 300 defects were reported by customers, which is more than 15% of product sold. So which is sizable. So this is a reputational risk for MPLs. So it's like something like Toyota. What happened? Very successful company, very successful product, but suddenly something has gone wrong and you have a big problem. So which are the following risk mitigation strategies should the company follow? So the number one they have put up.
I would say this is a risk.
Yes? Yeah. Except the risk, and this is only one of several products or producers. I don't think it is a good thing, isn't it? No, because you are a big company, you don't want to say it's only one product, we are producing 100 products, Toyota can't say that one. Reduce the risk by more frequent maintenance of the machines used to make the product. What do you think of that one?
I'm not sure if that it was because of the machines, that's why the products went bad. So,
had some problem with one of the main product. The product had been made by the company. Yeah, you're right, because we don't have. But let's look at the other answers also. Transfer the risk by training the machine operatives more frequently. Transfer the risk by training the machine operatives more frequently. Avoid the risk and cease making the product which has defects. Now that's a very, very tricky question.
Yeah.
Because as you rightly said, it can be on 2 items. It can be the MPS is manufacturing has some problems with defects in one of the main products it produces. This product has been made by the company for many years and is very profitable. Last month, over 300 defects were reported by customers, which is more than 15% of products sold. This is a reputation rate. Now, you have a clue here. This product has been made by the company for many years and is very profitable. right? So that means the product had been produced for many years. So product to go defective, now you have to see because which of the following risks, one only you can manage it here. If it is following risks, I would have put up two things. But which is what are the following risks? So look at this little English also here and there. Which is the, so only you can put one answer. Now coming to that one answer, I will think about it very carefully. You have been doing the same thing for a long time. Right? Your workers are so used to it. So there can't be things going wrong with the workers too much unless the workers are new and all that. What can go wrong is since the machines have been used for many years, the machines may be giving problems for you.
Okay.
Yeah? So you have to mentally argue it. You have to mentally argue it and see. Actually, I was trying to see from SIMA, I'm not very sure whether they have, probably. Now, if this is a question, you could answer in either way.
Okay.
Yeah. But the answer, the right answer is reduce the risk by more frequent maintenance of the machines used to the manufacture the product. But thinking like that, I think that is what these questions are going to help you in the practice. Because it's very difficult to think about like that. What about the risk analysis? Risk analysis is about ranking the and the blank likelihood of a risk occurring.
Impact.
Yes, you're right, because the ranking is about ranking the impact and the likelihood. You remember, it is the probability and the impact. So it goes coupling. So that kind of a thing, I'm sure you will do it very well. The impact. Good. Then the next one. It has started to offer a new service in response to pressure from environmental campaign. Up to 5 years ago, many other components sold by contain toxic materials. Recent legislation in Europe requires components to be recycled in specific ways to minimize any environmental damage. It has told customers that when they purchase new components, they can give the old components away, and then the purchase company will recycle them in accordance with the new legislation. This service has provided some good publicity for and has featured in the research, social and environment report. So remember yesterday we discussed this social and environment report in F3, sustainability. However, review of cycle procedures by internal audit department identified that many components, including some that contains toxic materials, are simply thrown away by staff rather than being recycled. Now this is what the internal auditors will do. There's a procedure here, there's a policy here, they want to recycle it. But the internal auditors have found these fellows are not recycling some other thing, they're just throwing it away. So select all that apply. This is a serious reputation risk for it if this story is reported in the press and it will damage the reputation of A. What do you think?
I think that's even it's a I think it's a definite reputational risk. Also
because you are telling something and doing something, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a reputational risk because the media will expose and say, look here, this fellow said, they have put it in the report saying this thing, that thing, but what they are doing is something totally different. It's a reputational risk. What about ethical risk? These are ethical risks where they are allowing toxic waste to be thrown out and incorrectly disposed of. Ethical means you are doing something.
Yes.
Because that is unethical what they are doing.
It isn't necessary.
Right. Then the control environment in H is strong, but the control environment is about your attitude towards in controls, the top management attitudes action. So here we see it is not strong, it is in fact weak.
No.
The people are not working on that. No one will find out, and if they do, the company can deny. That is not a good thing to do here, right? You remember Toyota did that when Toyota, first of all, they thought that no one will come to know, and they want to do that one, but that was not good. If the company releases the story on its own record, this will mitigate any damage more quickly than keeping quiet and being discovered late. What do you think?
I think that's likely. I think yes.
Yes, you must do that one. You must do that one because that way you admit that you have done something, things have gone wrong, it's much more better way, much more gentle way, much more ethical way, rather than trying to deny everything.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Yes.
Right. So let's look at this final question. X has a strong environmental and social policy. Annual report said that it will do its utmost to protect the environment and local communities. So remember yesterday we discussed this on the F3. An issue with production process is very noxious smelling gas. 2 years ago, the risk manager advised the company that the local community were very upset at the horrible smell, which meant their children would not play outside when production was in progress, and that they could not hang their washing out to dry because the gas made their clothes smell. There are several local communities situated around X Limited's 5 factories which are threatening to take out their advertisements in the press to tell people how treats a local. So you can see a bad company for all purposes. Chemists managed to solve the problem by adding another chemical to the process to remove the smell. As the chemist has done somewhere. The management accountant is now asking the chemist to remove the chemical as it is expensive and so company profits are reduced. Typical accountants. They look at only from the dollars, and he's telling that it's expensive. Stop that one. That is despite the possibility that the revenues will fall if the smell returns and switch off to less control from a supplier, and the reputation that will arise if the communities carry out their trade to tell the press about the smell. What action? Now remember again, single layer. What action would be most ethical for Limited to take now to reduce the chance of damage to X Limited reputation? X Limited should remove the extra chemical without telling anyone.
I think it's the same.
X Limited should ask a chemist to experiment to discover whether they can remove the smell more cheaply. X Limited should take out of I think that second one is the right one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to reduce the cost. I mean, surely that's not a bad thing, right? But so see whether you can remove you want to remove the smell. There is no question about it. But whether it can be done at a cheaper rate. So that is what all about. So what I would suggest is, again, go to these revision questions by yourself.
Okay.
And again, revisit the answers, revisit the questions, see, how you are going to argue it by yourself. Forget the answers, read it again. And again, go for it. And I think that's a good way for you to learn it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the subject that we will discuss, the risk. So we are going to discuss risk more and more later on. But today, let's go into another area, the governance.
Okay.
The governance. So first of all, let's discuss what is this governance is all about. You remember we discussed the every board is set with objectives to manage, and they have to manage it. They have to have strategies to achieve the objective. So to achieve the objectives, what you need is basically a board of directors who are going to direct a company. They are called the directors, the people who are going to direct the company. They have to direct the strategy. They have to implement the strategy. They have to direct the strategy. And once they direct the strategy, next thing what they have to do is they have to control it. So this is what we are going to look at. So let's start from the beginning, the corporate governance. So we are going to look at the corporate governance today. So a big subject. I don't think we can do with everything today, but we are going to see as much as possible. So the corporate governance is the subject.
Okay.
And it's all about, what is corporate governance. First of all, let's discuss this one. So there has to be system. What is a system, as said? When you talk about systems in a company, what is it? It should have, any system should have three ingredients, I would say. Any system. You look at accounting system, any system for manufacturing system, sales system. The three ingredients are input, process, and output. You input something, and then you process it, and then you get an output. And that is what we call the system. Right? So that is what we call a system. So, organization need to have a system by which the companies are directed and controlled. The two things the directors will have to do is to direct and control. And as I go on repeating, who has to do it? Directors. Directors. In a company, board of directors. In another non-profit making company, maybe the governors or whoever, the people who are at the very top level, the governors, the board, they are the people. So what are they going to do? So these are the kind of people who will be looking all the time to do this kind of work. Yeah? So the next thing what they have to do is, okay, so the board of directors, and what they need, what they need is a system by which the companies are directed, and that is what these fellows have to do. So they have to direct, and they have to have a system. System means they can't do it ad hoc. They have to sit, plan, and have a process how they put their input, the process, and to get that output what they require. And it must be controlled. So the corporate governance is all to do with these two items: direction and control of an organization. Direction and a control of an organization, and that is what we call the corporate governance. So the board of directors are responsible. So if you don't have good people at the board level to direct the company will not do very well. And if you don't have good people at the directors level to control the company will not do very well. So the corporate governance is all to do with these people. Right? It is all to do with these people. So the people who are here, what are they doing? How good they are? And what are they earning out of the company? That's the kind of a message that the board of directors would want to know. So it's all about the board of directors. And you will see that a lot of companies collapsed in the last few years purely because they had some bad people managing the board. So we are going to look at in that way the people. Right. So why we have corporate governance? Purpose of corporate governance, right? So the corporate governance is required basically to manage an organization to achieve the objectives in an effective, in an entrepreneurial and a prudent management. You know, you have to be an entrepreneur, but you have to be prudent also. You are not going to do things very haphazardly. You have to be prudent. On the other hand, the ultimate purpose is to achieve your objective. So remember, every time the term what we are looking at is all the time objective. So objectives has to be achieved. So once the objectives are achieved only, we can say that we are doing very well. So for that purpose, you have to have a good kind of management people who are going to work with you. So that is what this business is going to do. So mostly the corporate governance is to the large entities. Large entities. But it is relevant to small organizations also. Generally it is believed if you practice good corporate governance, you will be more recognized as a company. You will be more recognized as a good corporate system. But for the big companies, in some countries, it's almost the law. You can't get away. You have to manage the corporate governance. So the next thing, on the corporate governance, what we need to know is elements of corporate governance. What are the elements of corporate governance?
Yeah.
So this lady, you can see in the picture, if you don't have the right corporate governance in the business, you will be like this. You know, keeping your hands on the thing, because if you don't have good corporate governance, what is not going to happen is you are not going to manage and reduce your risk. So management and reduction of risk is the primary thing, and you and I know how important that is for a business.
Yeah.
Then good supervision and management with best practice guidelines, right? So you have your business guidelines. What are you going to do? How are you going to approach the customer? And what kind of products you are going to sell? all that guidelines, good supervision and management. And ultimately that should end up with good performance. And today, as I have been always telling, ethical strategies, effective strategies, covering all the stakeholders, right? It's not only the shareholders we are looking at nowadays, all the stakeholders, cover everyone. So look at every possible stakeholder in your organization and you must cover it up. So the board of directors will have to run a company in that way. Then only you can say that yes, they are doing very well. So very important that you have ethical standards in your company. If you don't have ethical standards, not very good. Transparent accountability. These are the basically the elements of good corporate governance. Transparency. What is the big thing of transparency? What's the big thing of transparency? Why do you think transparency is important?
People can see exactly what you're doing, and it's a form of accountability. And
because that way the people are quite happy, and your business can even increase actually when there's transparency. People know that you are doing is, you are not lying, you may make mistakes, you will admit the mistake. So that is what the corporate governance is all about. So if you have good corporate governance, surely you will not be in this lady's position. You should not be. You should be very happy kind of a person if you have corporate governance, because that means your things are happening in the way that it should happen. If you don't have that one, it's not very good for you. So that is what the corporate governance is going to do for you. Then what are the driving forces of corporate governance? Right? Driving forces of corporate. So the globalization, in the last 10-15 years we have seen businesses crossing the boundaries and going for other area. So because of that, you need some kind of uniformity. Because, if you are in America, you can find out what's happening. But if you are going to, in America, if you are going to invest in UK, you need to know kind of that your investment is safe in UK. So you need good governance. So the promotion of governance has come basically by the investors. Because the investors, they are scattered all over, and because of that they need some kind of assurance from the society and equality for domestic and foreign investors. Because in some countries there is some discrimination between the domestic investor and the foreign investor. So the corporate governance try to bring some kind of equality. And also issues concerning financial reporting. We saw a lot of problems in the financial reporting, like company like Enron, Westcom, all that. Right? So because of that, I think the corporate governance purely for me, I think it came because of the Enron and all the other. So there was a necessary. And there are a lot of issues in the individual countries, right? Various countries, they have their own religious, cultural background, and therefore they can have a significant influence on your corporate strategies and all that. And therefore you need some good corporate governance coming up. Because otherwise you will not know what is going to happen if you put money in a country like Saudi, you probably will not know what's happening unless you have good corporate governance. And also the corporate scandals. The big corporate scandals has made really the corporate governance matter for you to live with. And today I think the business world is moving. I don't think we can have a business without good corporate governance. Not only the businesses, the governments are talking about good governance. Not only the governments, the charities and the societies, they are looking at corporate governance, transparency, accountability. And even the governments are insisting that some of these charities are registered. Why? Because there has to be more transparency for the donors. So there are corporate governance theories. There are three theories which is mostly important. One is what we call the stewardship theory. That is, you and I as the managers or the management, we are the stewards of the owners. Right? We are the stewards of the owner. So because of that, we must manage our business or our assets as good stewards. Good stewards. We must be accountable and to do that one. And if we don't do it, the owners will have the right to dismiss us because we are stewards, right? We are stewards. They have the right. But if that to happen, the shareholders will have to take lot of interest. So actually, one of the reasons of the corporate governance is the shareholder did not take too much of interest when it came for the matter. They were quite happy to get the annual report once a year. They were quite happy to get the dividend, and they were quite okay. They were not really working hard to see whether the companies are doing very well. And particularly, this came because of this institutional shareholder. So as I said, the institutional shareholders are, who are they? Who are they, to institutional shareholders?
Institutional shareholders.
There are two kinds of shareholders: individual shareholders, and institutional shareholders in a company.
Will it be the banks? I don't know.
Yeah, like the banks. Yeah, like the banks, the insurance company, the pension fund. They are now individual shareholders. You and me. We go and invest our money, right? If the company does well, we will get some dividend. If the company does not do well, we will lose our money. You might get a scolding from your family. I will get a scolding from my wife. That's the end of it. You lost my money. You lost your money. That's the individual shareholder. But the institutional shareholders, they are investing others' money. They are investing the pensioners' money. So if something happens, but who is going to be the loser? It is not this institutional shareholder as such. It is some third party. Yeah. Some third. And therefore, these people have a big responsibility to see when they invest money in a company that they take active interest. So this is what the stewardship theory is. So stewardship theory will not work if the shareholders are not taking active interest. That is one part of one theory. What is the next theory we are going to look at? Stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory. This is basically the management takes the view that they have a duty not only for the owners but to the wider community. Employees, the society, the environment, everyone, they have a wider thing. So not only just to the owners, but to the entire society they have. So this is what we call the stakeholder theory. Then we have the famous theory what we call agency theory. Agency theory. Agency, the management act as the agent. Agent. Now, if you are an agent, say that you are a real estate agent, what is your first interest? Say you are a broker, you are an agent. Yeah,
that would be profitable to you.
That is for you, isn't it? You want to see how much agency commission you are going to get.
Yes.
Correct? If I am going to sell a property on your behalf, I am more interested to know not that what you are going to get, how much I will get if I sell your property. I am your real estate agent. I want to say, so I am looking for my own self-interest. Right? My own self-interest. And this is what the agency theory is. So basically the directors will be, the managers will be more self-interested and looking after the entity, just to meet whatever the goal. Okay, you tell me you want to sell your property for $100 million. And I take the thing because my responsibility is to sell it to you for $100 million. That's all. Nothing less, nothing more. And if I sell it, I will get my 3%. I'll be very happy. So that is the theory, the agency theory. So all these theories are very much in force, and normally I would believe stewardship theory is the right way to work it through. So when you talk about risk management, it's all about good governance. Good governance is all about risk management, internal controls, accountability, and managing the things in an ethical and effective way. So these are some of the key things which we need to know about the corporate governance. So these are some of the short questions that you can come up. The corporation governance theories, ethical ones, all those things, they might put it up and you may want to answer those things. The three theories.
Okay.
So now I want to discuss the governance principles, right? So what are the governance principles that you have? So basically, your governance principles are basically to ensure that you adhere to the satisfaction of, you know, all the governance principles are to achieve in your strategic objectives. So you have your financial objectives and other objectives. So the governance principles should be ultimately to adhere to achieve the strategic objective. That is the purpose of governance ultimately. And to minimize risk. How do you minimize the risk? By having controls. By having proper internal controls. So you can see the corporate governance and internal controls and risk management are like the three sisters in the family. They are connected. Corporate governance, risk management, and internal controls. Without internal controls, you will not have good risk management. Without good risk management, you can't have good corporate governance. And also, ultimately, it must end up promotion of integrity, straightforward dealings. So when you are a good corporate governance company, you are not going to do underhand deals. You are not going to give some bribe. You are not going to solicit bribe. You are going to do business in a very straightforward manner. No one will be able to raise a finger on you. Then they are responsible. They are the corporate governance. When you manage with good corporate governance, it fulfills responsible to all the stakeholders. And obviously, we know there can be a lot of conflicts between stakeholders, but you want to minimize it. You can't make it zero, but you can minimize the conflicts. Having a good dividend policy, having a good remuneration policy, having good policy for the director's remuneration, like that you manage everything in a way that is more acceptable to all the people. And of course, clear accountability. Ultimately, purpose is you must maintain clear accountability all the time. So these are some of the things. And to maintain the independence of those who scrutinize you. Who are the people who are going to scrutinize you? Who are the people who are going to scrutinize the board of directors?
The stakeholders, the shareholders.
Yeah, how do they do that? How do they do that? Because they can't now, you are a shareholder, you can't go and scrutinize the reports, isn't it? How would they do that? They do that to people, who?
Auditors.
Yeah, right, auditors, yes. Auditor. So auditors must be kept independent enough.
Yeah.
Auditors must be kept. So this was one problem that the corporate governance had a problem. But for that, the auditors somewhat became non-independent. How? Because the auditor is appointed by whom? Who is appointing the auditors in a company, say to?
The management.
Shareholders appoint the auditors.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, because you know they want to you are the manager, and so I'm appointing auditor to see whether you are doing the right thing. So if you appoint, that's not going to work it out, right?
Yes.
So the auditors are appointed by the shareholders, but to do the audit work. So the audit work, maybe they will get 100,000 audit fees. But once the auditors are appointed by the shareholders, you and I as directors, we give them work what we call non-audit work. Non-audit work. What is non-audit work? Like tax consultancy, recruitment, you know, all sorts of everything. And we pay, the directors, we pay them, say, shall we say 300,000.
So non-audit work?
Yeah.
It's called
non-audit work. That is, you know, you ask them to do a tax calculations. You ask them to do the recruitment for you. You ask them to do some fraud investigation. You ask them to do some feasibility reports for you. You ask them to do some evaluation on new projects. That kind of work, non-audit work. So for those works, the same auditors are appointed by the directors. For the audit work, the same people are appointed by the shareholders.
Yeah.
Now I want to imagine that you are the auditor appointed, right? For audit work you get 100,000. For non-audit work you get 300,000.
Yeah.
Now, audit work, your loyalty is for the shareholders. For the non-audit work, your loyalty is for the directors.
Yeah.
Right? Now, where will your loyalty be? Or more loyalty? Where will your loyalty be? More loyalty. Where will it be? You are getting 100,000 from...
I think the shareholder.
Shareholder, you are getting 100,000. Look here, all of us are human beings. Right? All of us are in business.
Yeah.
For doing the shareholder work, I get 100,000. For doing the non-audit work, I get 300,000.
Yeah.
So, where will my loyalty be? Because I'm also in business,
Okay.
I'm auditor, yeah?
So to the non-audit.
Non-audit work, isn't it? Non-audit work.
Yeah.
So, you know, now, I am appointed to scrutinize your work. But you have me 300,000 back. So will I scrutinize you?
No, not that much.
Yeah, not much, right? Even if you do something wrong, I will keep a blind eye, because if I try to scrutinize you, I will lose my 300,000.
Yes.
And this is exactly what happened with Arthur Andersen with the Enron. You know, the directors gave them lot of money for doing their non-audit work, and the auditors lost their independence. So the corporate governance is trying to bring that independence, because without that kind of independency, you know, not good for a company, because the shareholders can't rely on you. So there are a lot of mechanisms, and also the corporate governance ensures or will ensure to provide timely, accurate, trustworthy reporting. This is where the Enron failed. They were not giving trustworthy reporting. And trustworthy reporting is certified by the auditor. And the auditors were not trustworthy. So to whom can the people go? People can't go to anyone. People lost the confidence in the companies, and that is why the corporate governance became a very big issue. And now it has become a big issue for you and me as students now. We have to look at, because of those fellows mad things. And also, the corporate governance make it possible for proactive involvement of owners. As I told you earlier, the owners are very interested in getting the dividend and the annual report, and probably will come for annual meeting, annual general meeting, have a good lunch, will go on. But now, there's more proactive involvement. The big shareholders must get involved and ask, what are you all doing? What is the strategy? Right? Why didn't you all make these things? So like that, there's a kind of a demand on the owners, or particularly the stakeholder, the institutional shareholder.
Yeah.
So these are the things that people will have to go on doing it all the time nowadays. Yeah. So next one, your corporate goal and strategy. Corporate governance and strategy. What are the strategies that you need to have it? So let's look at that one now. That's the next slide we are having. Strategy. So, you know, every board will have to strike a balance between performance. Performance is corporate governance. Sorry, conformance. Conformance is corporate governance. You want to do things in the right way all the time. But you have to balance it with performance. If you try to, you know, be very conservative, not to take any risk, you are not going to be in business. So you have to balance the conformance and performance. And we said that day also we realized that is what basically risk management is. So we have to decide, striking a balance between good corporate governance and performance. Performance is sort to do with strategic decisions, use of resources, what kind of resources we are going to use it. So you have to decide. Some, you know, the corporate governance may say what you are going to do is not right, waste of water. But you have to manage with the performance. So you have to minimize and do it. So that's what the strategy is ultimately. So there's a report particularly given by the CIMA, and that report talks about the key successful strategy. You must have a very clarity of strategy, a choice of strategy. And the corporate governance must ensure strategy execution. You can have the best strategy, but if it is not executed, that's not good. Most of the politicians, they put up a big strategy thing before they get voted, elected. But after getting elected, they forget about it. Yeah. So you must have a good clarity strategy and effective execution. And things like mergers and acquisitions and information flows. There's a lot of information coming to you. How are you going to respond to those information? And ultimately, of course, effective risk management. That's what we call a strategy. So there are a couple of models of, there are at least 4 models of corporate governance. The mother model is the UK model, but there's the USA model, and also there is the kind of a South African model, and also another model, what we call the OECD model. So there are 3 kinds of models, and the corporate governs the report. So we are going to look at some of these models, and we are going to deal more detail with the UK model. So the UK model was, I think, somewhere in 1990s they started it, and they developed and developed. Now we have the new model, the latest one we call UK Corporate Governance Code 2010.
Okay.
So this can be one short question that can be happening. The new code name of the UK model, UK Corporate Governance Code 2010. This was revised after the financial collapse of the recession, and then now it is called the UK Corporate Governance Code 2010. So the corporate governance can be either principle based or rule based. Principle based means either you comply or explain why you are not complying. That is what principle based means. You comply or explain why you are not complying. The other model, the American model, is your country. The model is rule based. Rule based means it is a law. It's a law. Right?
Okay.
Now I'm asking the question from a wrong person, but what do you think is best? Principle based or rule based?
I think principle based is best.
Good, very good, yeah. Because when you say rule, you and I know law is an art, right?
Yeah.
We know how to overcome the law. You go to a good lawyer, he will tell you how to get. But when you principle based, there are no boundaries.
Yeah.
There are no boundaries. So principle based is much more better, and it is generally accepted. I think it's the only big model that is rule based is the US model. All the other models are principle based. I think what happened in the USA, because a lot of companies started collapsing in USA, and they want to make it law and to make it enforced, and I think they were a little bit proactive on that way. But the UK model is more, they took time and they did it, and it is principle based. So the 2 models are principle based and rule based.
Yeah.
So the UK model started with so many reports. One is this Cadbury and Hampel reports, and then they had the Greenberry report. So little things you need to know about this, and because since they are short questions, I'm looking at all these things, because the Greenberry report basically discussed the director's remuneration. Right? So why I'm saying is because earlier in the big questions I was not bothered about all these things, but they might put up a question and say the director's remuneration is discussed in Cadbury, Hampel and Greenberry, and you have to mark the right.
Yeah.
Right. So the Greenberry report is about the director's remuneration. Then after that, so once these 3 reports got combined, that is the Cadbury, Hampel and the Greenberry, it was called the combined code. Combined code. That was in 1998. And after that, 3 more reports came. The Turnbull report, that is on the risk management and internal controls, Smith report on audit committees, and Hicks report on NADs. So all that together is what we call the combined code, the UK Corporate Governance Code.
Okay.
So it's actually a combination of 6 reports, Cadbury, Hampel, Greenberry, Turnbull, Smith and Hicks.
Okay.
All those reports together is what we call the UK Corporate Governance Code. So that is the UK model. Now I'm talking about the USA model, your model. It is, as I said, it's a rule-based, it's a law. It is called Sarbanes and Oxley Act 2002. It is commonly called SOX, rule-based. So it applies to all US corporations wherever they are. Whether they are operating in US or any other place, it applies to all of them, any US corporation, and also the company listed in the US stock exchange. So even if a UK company listed in the US stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, the SOX model applies for them.
Okay.
So later on we will do a little bit of a comparison of these two models. Then I want to discuss the South African model. South African model is called the King's Report. That is also a principle-based one. And that was updated somewhere in 2009. It takes basically the UK model and the USA model takes a more of a shareholder approach. Right? It takes a more of a shareholder approach. But the South African model takes a stakeholder approach. They look at the wider community. Because I think the South Africa is one country there with after Nelson Mandela and all that, they are looking more of the community more than even the businesses. And they rely heavily on disclosures. So a lot of transparency, a lot of disclosure. And also it embraces social, environmental and economic activities much more than the other two models. Not that the other two models are bad, but this goes beyond that cause. And also it encourages active participation by shareholders and the financial press. So the media is also given a lot of prominence in the South African model. I'm sure, the Nelson Mandela would have been having some part of it on introducing this kind of a model, because he was a man who was rather selfless in doing whatever he had to do. Then we have the fourth model, what we call the OECD model. This is a wider model. It was developed by having certain set of principles for corporate governance for any country for that matter. So OECD. That is, OECD is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Organization for Econ. So that was a good thing for you to note down some of these things. Because I'm a little bit scared because in the short question they can ask what is OECD.
Organization of
Economic Cooperation and Development.
Okay.
So they developed a set of principles of corporate governance, and that one basically is concerned with global investment. They are looking all over the worldwide investments, and it basically deals with separation of ownership and management. So the management is managing, owners are owners, and therefore they basically think of 5 principles. Shareholder rights. Right? The right of the shareholder to participate and vote in general meetings. And the right for them to remove the board of directors. Right for them to obtain relevant material information. Right for them to get timely information. So that is number 1 principle. Then second principle is equitable treatment of shareholders. Right? So what they say is that all the shareholders of the particular class should be treated in an equitable manner. In other words, if you can be a 50 shares owner, or you can be a 1 million share owner, but treat everyone on an equitable manner. So that is what equitability mean, right? So overseas shareholders, local shareholders, everyone should be given the same treatment, kind of a thing. Then it looks at the rights of stakeholders. So they say the rights of stakeholders should be protected. So the relevant information. So even for the unions, you must be given information. And performance enhancing measures like bonuses, rewards, and all that for the employees. So those are the rights of your stakeholder, right? To communicate freely with the society and to not to have any illegal, unethical things happening at the board level.
Yeah.
Then the fourth principle is the disclosure and transparency. Timely, accurate disclosures. Timely, accurate disclosure. It's not only about the past, even about the future. Any foreseeable risk, right? Any issues regarding employees, any issues regarding governance structure, all that must be disclosed. And finally, the responsibility of the board. The board is responsible for strategic guidance. They are responsible for strategic guidance. So that responsibility, they have to take it up for effective monitoring. And it should be done all in the interest of the company and the shareholders.
Yeah.
And they must be able to exercise independent judgment. So this OECD goes very, very far thinking. Independent judgment. No director should be under any obligation to any person to say that, look here, I have to, because although I don't like it, I have to vote for this fellow, something like that. That's not right. So the directors must be independent people. They must be bold enough to say black is black, white is white, kind of a thing. Yeah. So that's what this OECD is standing for. So next one, the board structure. The board structure. So the boards, in the companies, ultimately everything is done by the board of directors. If you don't have the right board of directors, you're going to have problem. So you must have a good board who are competent, who are skilled enough, who are professional enough, and with balance of skills. So don't have all the accountants in the board. Don't have all the engineers in the board. Have a balance of skills. Marketing, engineering, accounting, and like this board, but I put it up, ladies, young people, old people, all the people should be there in a board. So have a mix of people. Then only the board becomes very effective kind of a board. So the board structure is a very, very important thing for an organization. Right. So we are going to look at what the board structure is going to be. Right. So the UK model work on what they call a unitary board. One board. One board. They have only one board. And that board has executive directors and non-executive directors. So they sit in one forum, one board, all the executive directors. Who are the executive directors? They are the people who are working inside the company, who are responsible for the executive function. Who are the non-executive directors? They are outsiders, but who come and participate in the board meetings and committees, and they don't get involved in the executive activity. So the UK model work on what they call a unitary board.
Okay.
So all the directors have the right to participate in board meetings, decision making, and all have legal responsibility for management of the company and strategic performance. So whether you are a NED or a ED, it doesn't matter. You are responsible for any decisions that is taken by the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we call the unitary structure. Then I want to discuss some advantages and disadvantages of unitary board, because we are going to look at two other boards, what we call a two-tier board and a three-tier board. So what are the advantages of a unitary board? That is all the people sitting together, right? Everyone is sitting in one board meeting. Executive directors, non-executive directors, all the fellow. So because of the legal responsibility, the NEDs, they won't sleep, because they know they are so responsible for anything happening, and therefore they will take a bigger active interest. Otherwise, they will sleep at the board meeting because they are not the partakers of the thing. And NED's views are taken in decision making, and actually that is the very purpose why we have NED, because they are the people who are having some outside experience. So having those people in your board, they bring lot of outside experience into your company. So because it's one board, their things also will be discussed. The chairman will give them an opportunity to put out their whatever they have to say. And NEDs are there basically to challenge the strategy. Who develops the strategy? The executive directors. But whatever the strategy developed is challenged by NEDs. How do they challenge? By question. By questioning. Why do you want to do like this?
Yeah.
Why can't you do like this? And not only it's a question of challenging, it is also assisting them to make a better strategy. So because of that, the ultimate decisions will be much more better. Because when you are working inside a company, sometimes you get blinded for certain things. You don't see the wrong side of it because you only see the right side of it. But an outsider coming and sitting on the same board, they'll say, Chetu, what you are going to do is, you have these dangers. And since they are sitting as one board, the relationships are going to be much more better. More understanding, better way of doing things. So that is what the advantages of a unilateral board. But what are the disadvantages of a unilateral board? What are the disadvantages? So the disadvantages are, since the NEDs are also part and parcel of decision making, later on they will find it difficult to monitor EDs because one of their job is to monitor EDs and their performance. Now the ED will say, look here, you also participated in the decision. Why are you questioning me now? Today at our board meeting, one of the directors, enter the board meeting. One of the directors said, look here, I was not involved in this thing, that thing. So the managing director said, you are number 2. How can you say that you did not get involved? You got involved in everything. Yeah. So there can be some kind of a difficulty to monitor the EDs. If you are an NED, you might just shut your mouth and wait. Because you might think, oh my God, how can I ask? Because I also supported that fellow. And NEDs will require more time. They will require more time because they have to give a lot of time. So some of these NEDs are very busy fellows. They may not have enough time. So when you appoint NEDs to the board, one thing you must look at is whether they have enough time to give to your board. If you don't have time, don't appoint them as NED. So one of the qualifications for the NEDs is they should be able to give you time. What are the other things you should be looking? They must be people of reputation. People of reputation.
Okay.
Also people of some experience who can contribute something. Not the people who just come and sleep there, but the people who can contribute something. So there are people of reputation, people of experience. So and they must be able to give you time. And so one of the disadvantages is having these NEDs in the board. They probably will need more time to give it. And there can be division between managers and employees, right? Because the managers and employees might find that, they are the people who are taking decisions. Why should we worry about it? So they may not, generally that is the feeling that day. And the shareholder involvement will be very minimal because they have appointed the NEDs, they have appointed the EDs, they think they'll let them do the job and they might not get involved too many. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of a unitary board. The next board is what we call a two-tier board. Two-tier board. This is mostly practiced in German companies. Right? Two-tier. There are two boards. One is a supervisory board. The other one is a management board. UK model, one board, all the people. Supervisory board, it has employee representative, the bank representative. It doesn't have any executive function. They are not the people who are going to do the sales or look after the finance or anything. But they are there to safeguard the stakeholder interest. They are sufficiently independent, should have knowledge, ability and experience. The management board runs the company. They are the people running the company and they are responsible for day-to-day running. The supervisory board only appoints the management board and the two boards are entirely separate. So that is why we call it two-tier board. So the supervisory board appoints the managerial board and the managerial board will run the organization, but of course the supervisory board will always guide them and they have the control over them. So this is the German model that is being practiced. Then we have the third model, what we call the three-tier board. Three-tier board. This is most practiced in Japanese companies. Japanese companies. So let's look at that one. What are they going to do? So it's almost in all the Japanese companies. So there are three boards: policy board, functional board, and a monocratic board. Policy board is where basically the long-term strategic issue. So it's like in the German model, the supervisory board. They take the policy decision. The functional board is mostly the senior executives, and it's like the managerial board in the German model. They are senior executive. The monocratic board is, it's more of a symbolic board. It's kind of some celebrate, not like celebrating some reputed people in the board. They are just more of a ceremonial kind of a thing.
Okay.
Like in UK, you get the Queen Elizabeth kind of a person.
Okay.
Yeah, they are more symbolic with few responsibility. So generally, decision making is very slow, right? The chairman will control the executives to the board, and the directors are expected to promote the best interests of the employees. So Japan is one country who are concerned about the employees, because Japanese are married to the company first before even to their wife or their husband. So they are married to the company first, and no surprise, they have more highest number of suicides and all that because they are working all the time inside the company.
Yeah.
So because of that, they also have a big responsibility to look after these fellows. So advantages and disadvantages of this multi-tier board. Multi-tier is either 2-tier or 3-tier boards. Right? So you can have boards with different levels. So let's talk about the advantages first of all. So what are the advantages of a 2-tier? So there's separation of duties between the executives and the monitors. Right? So they are not sitting together. So the monitors can monitor, the executives can do the job. And the supervisory board will be somewhat like a guard, like the parent, right? Looking after the children. So they will tell what is right, what is wrong, and all that kind of a thing. Supervisory will look after the needs of the stakeholder. So they are the policy decision people, and they are very much agile on the strategy. They are very, very alert on the strategy. They are very focused on the strategy. So they will direct these fellows, the second board, to achieve the strategy all the time. So that is what a supervisory board will do it. So that's the advantage of this having this 2-tier board. Yeah. So the next one is what are the disadvantages of this board? 2-tier board. 2-tier board, what are these? So there's confusion over authority, because who has to do what? The two sets of people are sitting in two different tables, two different meetings. So there's always a confusion. Who can do what?
Yeah.
And there can be lack of accountability, because one party will say, you told us to do it and we did it. The other party will say, you did it wrong. And also, the executive board, the second level board, they are the people who have all the information shared, because they are the people who are working inside the company. So they can suppress the information. They can suppress the information. Supervisory board will have to make all your decisions based on good information. So if you are not getting good information, you may become very ineffective. And decisions taken without TDs may lack full information, because now you at a different level, you are taking decisions without the people who are really doing the job.
Yeah.
Right? You are deciding to do a $20 million sale without having the sales director in your board. You are deciding to produce 500,000 products without having the production director on the board.
Yeah.
So that kind of decisions will be not very good. So ultimately they may not support the decision. The executive directors may not support the decision. So I'm going to stop it at this point today. I need to do more on this area. So probably I'm going to have another session on corporate governance.
Okay.
Right. And the next session also will be on the corporate governance. So what we have done today, I will send you a recording, and we will start it from this point and do it. So we are meeting, I think, on the 2nd. No, again?
On the 2nd for F3. Yeah.
2nd for F3 we are meeting, yeah. So when we meet on the 2nd, we will look at the F3. Again, I will try to see whether I can, because now we are covered up the working capital area. So I'll try to see whether I can put up some questions for you tomorrow, so that we can take it up some of those also and do it.
Okay.
Any questions you have, Shetu?
No, so far, no. Thank you. No,
right, okay. Just go to your textbook. It is starting from page 43. I think we are going up to about 53, 55. Just go on reading, and we will do the balance part next session.
Next session, okay. Okay. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Yes, yeah. For us, the New Year will come up in another 2 hours time.
Yeah.
For you all, you have a little bit of more time.
Exactly. Yes, we have more time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you have a good service.
Thank you. Thank you, Setu. I'll see you on the New Year again.
Okay, see you then.
Yeah, bye. Bye.